The younger you are, the better it is to try all this stuff because you have fewer responsibilities. If you do fail, there's not someone on your shoulders who's going to fall with you. The younger you are, the younger your parents are, which means if something does go bad, you still have time to pick up and restart. Before they're getting old, I got to pay for them, I got this, I got that.
Today I'm joined by somebody who talks more than I do. Vivek Mahbubani. He is an icon here in Hong Kong, very well known for his comedy. But this man's energy and his talents expand well beyond the borders of just comedy. He's a motivational speaker. He teaches people about culture. And he brings everything together in such a way that you guys are going to witness on the show today. Vivek, thank you so much for joining us.
Pleasure. Happy to be here. Let's do this.
Let's do it. Like I said when I just met you several minutes ago, you seem on it. Your eyes are lit up.
Yeah.
You speak at 1,000 miles an hour.
Yeah, that's my
right?
problem. People complain all the time.
No, but that's the thing. I kind of came into our interaction super chilled out. I mean, you know, the vibe of the set with the music and everything like that. I was super chilled. I was like, yeah, Vivek's a cool, chill guy. I remember the last time I met him several years ago. He's like super easy. And I met you, and I found myself needing to actually become more alert.
You're inhaling deeper. You're like, I need more oxygen with this guy.
Yeah, exactly. I need to like become more alert. But at the same time, I almost admire that because I feel like operating at the pace that you're operating allows you to do so much and also contributes to your comedy because you have to be quick on stage. So yeah, how are you not burning out?
So the truth is I do burn out quite a lot, but I've learned over the years how to manage that better. So in other words, I very often find myself at night before sleeping, I'm just like, man, I'm so tired. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. I don't even know, I'm zoning out.
Yeah.
So in the beginning, I would be like, no, I'm going to power through this because, you know, you don't give up.
Yeah.
But then you have to learn to better understand yourself. We're like, okay, this part is just me being tired, but I know I have another 20% to go.
Yeah.
And I can still power through it.
Okay.
But then after you hit that other 20, you're like, okay, now this one is the red light now.
Right.
And over time, you learn that about yourself.
Okay.
Secondly, I also know that if I don't do it now, it's not going to go away. So it's just going to come tomorrow. And chances are tomorrow's going to be new surprises where I'm like, I don't have time for this stuff. It's all piling up. And so it's not going to get better. So
clearly this comes from a place of experience and logic, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Were you wired like this early in your career?
So I've always been a very, I'll put it this way, an angry kid. Okay, I've been an angry kid mostly because, you know, they're trying to fit in, couldn't really fit in, kind of feeling awkward, like, why is it my life so difficult? You wear that shirt, you look good, but when I wear it, it looks weird. Secondly, also, I was never fitting in, hence I was the odd one out.
Yeah.
But eventually, at some point, I realized maybe I kind of like that. For example, growing up, I loved heavy metal music.
Sick.
I love it. Like I was listening to like Slayer and stuff like that. I'm like, this is awesome, right?
Yeah.
And I was trying to memorize all the lyrics, and I was like, this is so cool. This is poetry.
Yeah.
People look at me like, what's wrong with you? Like, this is angry.
Yeah.
Like, this is great.
Yeah.
And then so I'd listen to it, and I'll be like, this is so cool. And that's the one thing I learned about heavy metal music is that with any other genre, you can fake it.
Yeah.
You know, I like jazz, you know, I like hip hop. Right?
Yeah.
With heavy metal music, it's like, this is really irritating.
Yeah.
You get it?
Right.
You can't fake it.
There's no faking it.
There's no faking it. And that thing made me realize, it's okay to like this stuff and not need other people to like you for that.
Yeah.
So that made me kind of go like, it's okay if I'm a bit more anxious, if I'm a bit upset, angry. And I don't know what happened. One day I was angry and I told myself, I want to get a tattoo that says, turn rage to fuel.
Okay.
Right? That was my thing. I don't know why I thought of that, but maybe it's a lyric or something.
Yeah. And
I realized, you know what? Your rage and your anger and this angst or whatever I have, I can either let it burn me or let it fuel me. In other words, for example, let's say someone discriminates me. I can be like, oh man, my life is terrible. People make fun of me all the time. Or I could be like, you know what? I'm going to be so good that you're going to have to work with me even if you hate me. Right? And I noticed more and more reading books. For example, Steve Martin, he has his book Born Standing Up. And one of his phrases, be so good they can't ignore you.
Yeah.
And that completely blew me. I was like, you're right. I want to be so good that people are like, I really don't like this guy, but he's so good at it, I have to work with him.
Yeah.
And that's going to burn them even more.
Yeah.
Right? So that's the reverse thing I wanted to do, where it was more of me being angry that I'm like, I'm going to show you that you should have never done that to me. The art of war, my favorite phrase is, ultimate victory is not in winning every battle, but in and defeating your enemy without ever fighting.
Yeah.
And that to me, I was like, you're right. I'm not going to fight you face to face. I'm going to be so good that you're going to have to come to me.
Mm-hmm.
You get it? So these kind of things, you get it? So it's a very angry place. However, it drove me and made me go, okay, you give me this and I'm going to make, you throw me to the wolves and I'm going to come back with a pack. You know, one of those phases?
Yeah.
That is what drove me. Okay? However, I could not control it. In other words, I was like, okay, I'm going to power through. I'm going to do it. You can, when you're young, you can, do this. You get it? You loving this? Yeah, this is me doing all the little character sketches,
Keep going, man. Keep going.
Yeah. So I'm saying, like, basically, when I was younger, I would be like, okay, fire, let's go.
Yeah.
But you have to also learn to balance it. And that was the hardest part of my life because that drove me to another place where I wasn't healthy to myself. I was just trying to, like, push myself too far, stuff like that. But yeah, the wiring really came from being upset that my life was just feeling like extra hard compared to everyone else when I did nothing wrong to be Indian. Like, why am I Indian? Like, why can't I be Chinese in Hong Kong? Like, why did you do this to me? Yeah.
Wow. Very interesting. So, I mean, for the audience, it's like, wow, this guy was a funny guy, but to hear that your story comes from a place of angst, comes from a place of anger,
yeah,
all that stuff.
there was a lot of rage inside when I was younger. Yeah,
because I almost imagine, being a funny guy, it's almost like, okay, like someone that's liked by an audience. Like, did you become a comedian to be liked more, or do you think it was a function of something else?
So actually, oddly enough, the moment I remembered that I used comedy to deflect things that I didn't like was in school, in like secondary school when I was a teenager. I went to Chinese school, so I was a hairy guy, right? Okay. And my friends were, oh, you're so hairy, what's wrong with you? And I remember that they would make fun of my body hair. And one day I did tell them, you know how good this is? Because I don't get mosquito bites. Yeah, they get stuck in my hair.
Yeah.
Right? And my friends like, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And then after that, they never pointed at my hair again. And I was like, wait. So you mean if before you make fun of me, I make fun of me, you no longer make fun of me? Huh. Turns out this actually is my self-defense mechanism.
Interesting.
And I tell people, I said, comedy became my way to understand the world. I did not realize it was comedy. It was just me saying, well, if I make fun of it first, you can make fun of me.
Yeah.
So that way I was like joking about this, joking about that, without realizing it was training me to see things from a new perspective. So it came from a self-defense, my way to cope with the world. And then eventually became a creative thinking. And then comedy was something I admired where I'm like, this guy just talked about shampoo.
Yeah.
And I was enjoying it.
Yeah.
That is fantastic.
True.
I want to talk about shampoo and make people enjoy it.
True.
And I remember watching people like Jerry Seinfeld. So back then there was no internet, right? So there's only the TV show Seinfeld. And before every episode, Seinfeld's up all, hey, so what's the deal? And I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
Just talking.
Yeah.
When I talk, I get in trouble.
Yeah.
But he talks, he gets applause, right?
Yeah.
And I learned what stand-up comedy is.
Right.
We saw Russell Peters, and I was like, wait, you mean we can do this too?
Yeah.
You had those. And then I was like, I want to try this once, just to see if I can do it as well.
Yeah.
And that all began the whole idea.
Yeah.
Where, when, how, who knows when, but I had the idea in my head.
That's crazy. Wow. Yeah, hats off to you, bro, for
Thank you.
paving that way, because, I mean, you mentioned, like, why can't I be Chinese?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's an element of, I suppose, like bullying and just like being brown. I love supporting South Asian people that are doing something.
Yeah.
Just because representation is so
Sure.
important.
Very,
just to
very
show
important.
other people that, hey, this is possible. Not just on a global scale, because there are so many Indian comedians now globally.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But even like just in a place like Hong Kong, let's say, right? Because you're one of the only, if not the only, that I'm
The
aware
regular
of. Yeah,
performing.
you're
Yeah, yeah.
exactly, yeah, Indian guy. So do you feel like along the way, with the influence that you have over other maybe South Asian kids that went to Chinese schools or other South Asians in Hong Kong in general, do you feel like you've had that kind of influence to get them to get up on stage?
So actually, oh, hold on, my throat.
Yeah, well, good. Take your time.
Yeah.
It's part of the bit.
Yeah. Oh, don't cut that. Let people don't see. I have trouble too. No, actually, so basically, when I was growing up, I didn't really have role models that were Indian, but you would have role models in general.
Yeah.
However, now I have noticed that me going to different schools, I've been to so many schools before that maybe some kid 10 years ago heard me speak. He's like, you know what, that day you came and made me realize you're right. It's okay to be Indian. It's okay to be South Asian. It's okay to be non-majority.
Yeah.
Okay, I felt better about myself.
Yeah.
Maybe that 5% acceptance he had or she had of herself would now make them say, you know what, I'm going to try that opportunity.
Yeah.
Because why not?
Yeah.
And I think that really inspired me and motivated me and made me realize that comedy has more value.
Yeah.
I can even tell you the story why I do a lot of these school gigs and also these, like, I do a lot of charities and nonprofits and everything. That's more for me. That's not so much about like, hey, let me be a good guy.
Yeah.
But it's more like, I remember one day I got invited by a hospital,
Yeah.
and they were like, hey, could you come to our hospital to perform for the patients? I'm like, sure, whatever. It's a gig,
that's
right?
Amazing.
I went there. It was a party for the patients and their families.
Yeah.
And it was a terminally ill ward.
Oh my God.
Right?
Yeah.
And I'm up there doing 20 minutes of comedy. And I remember while I was doing comedy, because by that time my set was automatic, I could take myself out and watch what's going on.
Yeah.
And I was like, I cannot believe that these people are sitting with someone who has been given a death sentence of you have only so many months.
Yeah.
But at this moment, they're laughing together.
Yeah.
And my comedy that I wrote in my room, hey, this is a stupid idea, has the power to make someone forget that this person next to me might be gone by this time next year. But this moment we're having together is because this guy said this stuff and we're laughing. So when this person goes, I can still remember that time with Uncle. That was I like that. We had a good moment. And made me realize, wow, that comedy has so much potential.
Yeah.
What more can I do than just simply going to a bar and be like, hey, so the other day, right?
Yeah.
And then I was like, what more? And then I was like, okay, what about schools? What about this? What about that? Can I use my story in a funny way and maybe tell kids, hey, I went through the same thing you're going through. So if you're going through the same thing I am, chances are you're on the path to success.
Brilliant.
Right? These kinds of things. So I think all that added up, it gives me a chance to expand as a comedian, as a person as well.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, big influence on
Man,
different people.
That's brilliant. I don't think I've seen it from that perspective
Oh,
before.
thank you.
And I think a reason for that is while I admire comedy and I admire comedians just because of, it's funny. Everyone loves to laugh.
Yeah.
Right? Who doesn't like to laugh? But to hear it in that kind of a context, like, okay, you're invited by a hospital and you speak to these terminally ill patients. Yeah, you are injecting joy in someone's life where there might be very, very little to look forward to. Even if it's for a few moments and it's memorable.
Put it this way, like this podcast, you might have, let's say, someone listen to it, and maybe at that moment, nothing's really changed.
Yeah.
But something that you said now, or I said now, whatever, kind of implants a seed.
Yeah.
And that 10 years later is like, wait, that person said this, and wait, I get it now.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a lot of those. And I think it's happened to me as well.
Yeah.
For example, when I was in secondary school, I had an English teacher, Mr. Sarrazin, and I loved him. He was a great guy, mostly because he was willing to be a cool teacher.
Yeah.
Secondly, we would always leave school together
Yeah.
and basically take the train, all right?
Yeah.
Now, he would do all the dirty jokes.
Okay.
I'm 15 years old. I'm like, this is the best, right? Let's go on. What's the dirty joke, right?
Yeah.
And then on the train one day, one classmate from the same school was like, hey, excuse me, Mr. Sarrazin, you shouldn't be doing, you're a teacher.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, but I'm human too.
You're right.
Like, you can't call me a teacher for 24 hours a day. I was like,
That's right.
That's right.
Yeah.
Whoever's successful, they're still human off stage.
That's right.
So if you're human and I'm human, what's stopping me from doing what you're doing? And that moment inspired me to not feel intimidated that, well, Li Ka-shing is Li Ka-shing. I'm like, yeah, he's human too.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, it's okay. Why not? And that, you see, like something like that,
Yeah.
it changed everything for me.
Yeah, man. I think recognizing that we're all human just makes us a little bit more relatable.
Yeah.
It kind of removes that front that we might
Yeah.
all have when we interact with each other.
Where you feel like, but that's them. That's not me.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And it's funny because us being Indian, maybe we can relate to this on some level. It's like that. It's like the idea of respect from society about what it is that you're doing for a career, right?
Yeah.
And I imagine when you told people in your community, like, yeah, I'm doing comedy. I can only imagine what kind of response you got from that.
I still do. I still get that.
Still, I'm sure, because people don't.
They don't get it.
They don't get it. But
Don't get it.
but that's the thing. I feel like the respect lies in the kind of stories that you just told about going to places like hospitals or schools to really inspire people firsthand, right? And I think comedy is such a beautiful thing too because you get an immediate response.
Yeah,
how
there's no
people-
lying.
There's no lying. People are either laughing or they're not.
There's no golf
right?
cup like that was pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And that helps your craft because then okay, either I didn't deliver. It helps your craft. You can improve. Maybe the delivery wasn't good. Maybe it was just not the right audience.
Yeah.
Whatever it is. But maybe something like podcasting, it's a little bit harder because the audience isn't here.
Yeah.
The audience is behind a screen, right? And it all kind of comes down to metrics and stuff like that, which takes the humanity away from it.
Yeah, it's just numbers.
It's
There's
just
like
numbers.
100,000 people listening, so
Exactly.
yeah, I don't see them, I don't feel them, but sure, you're enjoying. Good for you.
Exactly.
Yeah. I think I'll put it this way: is that I've always had this issue of people not accepting. From day one, when my parents sent me to a Chinese school, the community was like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
Why you go to the? We all go here. Why are you going there?"
Exactly.
So that became the norm.
Yeah.
Where it was like, yeah, you're not going to accept me anyway, so whatever, I'm going to do what I want.
Yeah.
Secondly, I was very blessed that my parents were a bit more open-minded, where they were not your very classic traditional Indian family mindset.
Right.
They were not thinking 20 years old, you better get married, I want some grandkids. It's none of that. It was more like, look, okay, figure out what you want. However, it's not free flow. Don't, have fun and go nuts.
Yeah.
It was like, okay, I will give you this space, but you
Yeah.
got to also give us this as well.
Yeah.
So for example, after I graduated from university, I was kind of self-employed working, and my parents were like, look, you want to be doing a little freelance thing?
Yeah.
Fine. But you have to kind of tell us what you're doing. We want to know. You can't be like, oh, I'm just, I got no projects.
Yeah.
What did you do to try to find projects? We got to
Yeah.
report to us, like a board of directors, like shareholders, right? So in that sense, I was accountable. And I think that guidance really forced me to be honest with what's happening. I really was not getting gigs, not projects or whatever, but I really was going out there and trying to connect with people.
Yeah.
Now, surely you're not going to expect first connection, boom, I get a job.
Yeah.
But if I can show them, see, I made 20 different meetings and networks.
Yeah.
Nothing came about it.
Yeah.
Okay, fine, you tried.
Yeah.
And I think that in itself helped a lot. And not being accepted no longer was an issue. Again, I very much am lucky that my parents were okay with that idea. The fact that they sent me to a Chinese school already shows you that they were not exactly going to conform to society to get from the get-go. And they were ready for all the backlash that's going to happen. Now, having doing what I did, like comedy and everything, in the beginning, sure, I still have the uncles. Oh, you still doing the jokes? Yeah, you still do? Yeah, uncle, I still do the jokes, you know.
Yeah.
When you ask someone like that, you already sense that they're like, oh, you still do a little hobby of yours?
Yeah.
Sure, uncle, yes, I do, you know.
Yeah.
Why fight that battle? Again, art of war. Not every battle is meant to be fought. So, okay, I'm not going to be like, no, uncle, it's a real job. What do you mean? Okay, sure, it's jokes, uncle. It's jokes. I keep doing what I do. You're not going to understand it, nor do you want to.
Yeah.
All right, then fine, good for you, right?
Yeah.
I think that's the same thing. Like if you told, let's say, certain older generation parents or friends or whatever,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I do a podcast, we talk to people.
Yeah.
Okay, what do you have an office? I have a studio. Oh,
Yeah.
wait. Do you have, an accountant? Do you have this? Well, no, it just works.
Yeah.
No, you must have a secretary.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
So it doesn't make sense to them, and I don't expect that. And a lot of times I tell people, it's like telling someone about being a YouTuber. Like no parent will, what do you mean open toys and make a living? It's like, yes, that's actually a job.
Yeah.
I open toys?
Yeah.
Well, then start a channel.
Yeah.
And the amount of times I've been told, well, I can tell jokes too.
Yeah.
The stage is there.
Yeah.
Go nuts.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, what's your opinion on entrepreneurship? Because we live in a day and age where we're starting to see a shift where people are kind of leaving these settled corporate jobs.
Yeah.
For the reason that there's so much opportunity in society for
Yes.
you to explore what it is that you were born to do.
Yeah.
Or maybe more so like expand on your natural talents, right? Because all the tools are there, and all the tools for you to deploy your natural talents into society and actually improve somebody else's life, all of those tools are also there.
Yeah.
Right? And because all you've ever really known is entrepreneurship, how would you sell this way of life to someone that might be a little bit unsure, that might be thinking about going down the safer route of getting a job and selling their
I mean,
time?
honestly, this is something I had to think about as well. First of all, stability, right? Everyone's like, I don't know if I'll make a living, I have a job's more stable. And I always say stability is such a subjective thing. When you work for a company, you're basing on believing that they won't fire you,
Yeah.
right? So during COVID, during the financial crisis, people were getting calls, you're fired. Well, yeah, I have a mortgage and a family. Well, too bad. The boss doesn't want to, they want to cut people, you're out.
Yeah.
Now, if you work for yourself, it's unlikely you will ever fire yourself. That's number one.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Yeah, okay. We'll get to that. Secondly, when you work for someone else, again, you're basically saying, here is 9 hours of my life. In return, give me this amount of money.
Yeah.
And I'm happy.
Yeah.
So you're valuing your time for that number. Now, if you tell me that if you work truly a genuine full 100% energy of 9 hours a day,
Yeah.
and you're only worth that amount, then you're kind of selling yourself short. The truth is, when you work in a full-time job, let's be honest, you're not spending 100% at 9 hours a day or 8 hours a day, right? You're spending maybe like 50% per hour. If you work for yourself, you're more, I don't want to waste my time. Everything is my cost, right? You'll use your paper better, you use your pen better, and then you can use only 4 hours instead of 8 hours because you're maximizing time. Secondly, I would say the younger you are, the better it is to try all this stuff because you have fewer responsibilities. if you do fail, there's not someone on your shoulders who's going to fall with you.
Yeah.
The younger you are, the younger your parents are, which means if something does go bad, you still have time to pick up and restart. Before they're getting old, I got to pay for them, I got this, I got that, right? All that. And lastly, I would say it's a very good self-discovery process. Entrepreneurship forces you to genuinely know who you are and what you're willing to do and what you are going to do. I tell people, just because I can doesn't mean I'm going to. For example, I can just ignore my parents and be like, I'm on my own, man, it's not my problem. I'm not going to. In the same way, you can just go out there and just start a business, but are you going to? And it's really one of those true things where you have to ask yourself, okay, am I willing to work in a space on my own, alone for the next 2 years, building something I don't know anything about, and hoping for the best? And if you tell yourself, yes, I'm going to, then it's like running a marathon. You have to know at the 40 km mark, your leg is going to burn. Oh, it's going to hurt so much. You don't start the marathon going like, I'll try my best. You're going to go there, okay, it's feeling fine now, but I know at the 40 km, 30 km, it's going to burn. And be ready for that. And when the 40 km comes, you're like, yep, exactly. This is horrible, but that's the game. And when you finish that and you hit the 50 km mark and you're like, I did it. I'm actually here. And that's entrepreneurship. You start off, everyone's like, I want to do this, I want to have a shop, I want to have my studio. Great, that's all good. But you have the beginning is whatever. You're all energetic. You slept enough. You've rested enough. Your friends are still, all this stuff. But after 2 months of no friends, not enough sleep, getting stuck alone in a space, that's where the real game comes in. And that's where you get to know yourself. Like, am I cut out for this? How badly do I want this? Right? So I think that's entrepreneurship is at least once in your life experience you must do. Try something and you'll really discover yourself.
The thing you were saying earlier about firing yourself,
Yeah.
I think I've been trying to figure out, does firing yourself in entrepreneurship essentially mean, okay, I give up, like I can't do this, I'm going back to getting a job or something of that sort? Like what do you think firing yourself actually is?
All right, so I think firing yourself it would basically say what I'm doing now, I'm not cut out, I'm not capable, I'm not at that quality. For example, if you told me, hey Viv, go and sing Chinese songs, you'll make so much money. I was actually told, go sing Canto pop songs. Dude, Indian guy, Canto pop songs, every gig will get you. Sold, easy. Every wedding, easy, right? I don't do that. And I was like, because I don't enjoy it. Sure, I'll make the money, but I'm going to sing the 10th song and go, I hate this. What am I doing? I'm a clown, right? But that's for me. Someone else might not see it as a clown, but I'm like, this is not what I want to be doing. I don't do wedding gigs because, again, I'm like, in my heart, I always say, people have told me so many times, Viv, that's where the money is, man. Go up there, congratulate them, boom. The thing for me is that when I'm at someone else's wedding, in my brain, I'm like, this is such a special moment. I don't even know you. I'm not genuinely happy for you because I don't know who you are. I can't be like, I'm so happy. Wow, that kiss was a... I don't care. And so I'm not going to be like, hey, I'm so happy. I don't even know who you are. I cannot be happy for you, So all these things, I know me. I know when I'm on stage, I want to be really feeling it. Otherwise, I don't want to do it. Of course, in the beginning, you have to do whatever you get. But after a while, you're like, I don't want to do this. I'm not going to. I have been told many times, hey, Viv, go. We have a company is kind of doing some Indian theme night. We'd love for you to go up there, do some jokes about curry and stuff. I'm like, no, I'm not gonna. Like maybe 12, 13 years ago when I'm like this new kid, I'm like, sure, get a gig, learn a bit. Now I'm like, I don't need to. I'm not going to. So firing yourself basically is you've tried it. You realize you're not cut out for it. And you say, nope, this is it. I'm closing. I'm not good enough for this. I don't feel it's going back to a full-time job. But it's kind of just saying, sorry, buddy. Accept that you're not right for this.
That aspect of whatever it is that you're doing is not working out for you. So just cut it. Try something new.
Exactly.
Try something until you feel good about it and it works, right? Dude, just now you were saying some days, if you don't feel it inside, then you won't perform well, right? But the nature of your job very much is performance. Like you have to muster up the courage or muster up like whatever it is to get up there and be funny or perform, right? But you're a human being at the end of the day. There are some days when you wake up feeling like absolute...
tons, dude, tons.
Exactly. How are you getting past that and actually getting up on stage?
So I remember hearing an interview, I think it was Bill Burr or Louis C.K. Someone was talking about that. They said, remember, when you go to a gig, you're like, I'm not feeling it today. Fine, I'll just power through it, whatever. Don't forget, someone in the audience might have paid extra money to get a babysitter, this and that, because they want to come watch you. You're like their idol. They're like, I'm so excited. I'm ready for this. They come watch like... He's just phoning it in. Like, oh man, I'm so disappointed.
That's true.
And you kind of go like, oh, because I had a bad day. Oh, God forbid I have to now go on stage, do something I wanted to do my whole life. And you're being told, oh, I'm not feeling it. And it's like, you're kind of spoiled then. So I that for me is a reminder.
Dude, you know what's a really interesting human experience or emotion? Shame. I think shame is a really interesting human emotion because I was simulating it in my own mind. Like, okay, what if I was up on stage and what if that happened? Right?
Yeah.
You really are letting another person down because of how you decided to show up on that day or something of that stuff. And then there's a shame attached to that because you can do better.
You should do better.
You should do better.
Yeah.
You know? And then at that point, the human interaction becomes one of like forgiveness. You know, it has to be like, yes, okay, I have faith in you to be better, right? Do better. But then shame is interesting. What do you think really drives you forward? Because like I mentioned earlier, you're wired, you're on top of it, right?
Yeah.
But to be wired, to consistently be self-driven, right? There needs to be a fire lit under you.
Oh, there's a lot.
You going, right? So
I mean,
what keeps
okay.
you going?
So I'll give you an example. Basically, one of my habits is every day I write a journal entry.
Cool.
Now I might not write today. Today might be for tomorrow. Basically, every day I have to do an entry for the day. And before I write today's entry, I must read a random entry from before. And my game is it could be any entry from, let's say, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, whatever. But I must read the same day today, but whatever years ago.
Whoa, okay.
I'll read that entry and read what I did back then.
Cool.
And I want to read that entry and not go like, oh my God, I did this. God, it's so stupid. I don't want to do that. I want to be like, wow, I remember that. That was cool. So it keeps me accountable. Because what I do today, I'm going to one day assess and read. And I do not want that day to be like, my God, I can't believe I did that. So embarrassing.
Wow.
You get it? So that's a self-discipline of like, I better write that entry with nothing but honorable things that I'm okay with.
Whoa.
You get it?
Yeah.
That came many years ago because it didn't start like that. It was just like, I read something like, oh, you should write journal every day. I was like, what am I, 5?
Yeah.
A dear diary. Yeah. Oh, what a great day, right? Fine, I'll write it. And then it's like, oh, by the way, because there was a website before called olife.com, OHLIFE.com. Okay? It basically would send you an email every day. How was your day? You reply the email, that's your entry.
Yeah.
And then after a week, it will send you, oh, by the way, 1 week ago, you said this. You compare where you were and where you are. Okay? And then after a year, it's like 1 year ago on this day, you said this. You're like, oh, I remember that day. Yeah. Oh, I am. And it made me realize, whoa, it's so cool to compare where you were and where you are.
Yeah.
And then it started happening 9 years ago. I've done it for 14 years now, every single day. Okay? 14 journaling every day.
Seriously.
365, no excuses, it's happening every day.
Amazing.
I will talk about my day.
Yeah.
And it will give me an email, oh, 9 years ago you did this. 9 years ago, I was like, oh, wow, I remember that gig.
Yeah.
I was doing like over a decade ago, I got invited to be a ring announcer for an MMA thing. Yeah. I had a knee brace. Nobody knew, but I had my trousers over it. Yeah. And I remember getting on stage trying to limp a bit, but I didn't want people to realize.
Yeah.
And I was like, I remember that. Oh, I was so scared because, I was like on the stage, live cameras filming me.
Yeah.
I'm like, please, just don't mess up. Don't mess up.
Wow.
That kind of thing. And I was like, well, I'm still here.
Uh-huh.
And that made me go, dude, these are so cool. These are like hearing older people talk about their stories, but it's yours. That keeps me on point where I'm like, when I go tonight and write that entry, I'm not going to say, so I woke up, right? I couldn't really get up because the alarm clock was so annoying, but I slept in, whatever.
Yeah.
Got up, saw an email, and I got so annoyed. This guy's like asking me for another gig. God, how many more gigs of these boring things am I doing? Yeah. Sure, whatever, make some quick money, whatever.
Yeah.
Had some lunch, just felt like a quick, burger, because who cares, right?
Yeah.
Got to this school, went there, these kids were like laughing, ha, such a boring, blah. Yeah. Went to this podcast, what a great venue, but sure, whatever, it's just another podcast. Say, talk about life, it's great. Go home. I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
Because I'm going to look at it like, what am I doing in my life?
Uh-huh.
So that way, I have to go and be like, I'm doing this. I'm here. I gave my all. Talked about this stuff. When I go there, I'm like, dude, it was such a good conversation. Okay. We were talking about life, da-da-da.
Yeah.
Done.
So you're journaling at the end of the day,
yes.
Obviously, right?
Like
just before you go to bed as a practice,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
Very interesting. And I mean, what you just described is having a good attitude towards life,
yes.
right? And really putting your best foot forward so that you can write the best story for your life at the end
Correct.
of the day.
Correct. Yeah.
Very, very cool and very timely as well, I have to say. Like for me, like hearing this for me in my own life, I think that's very timely because I think it's still the start of 2024.
Yeah.
If you looked at 2024 as a scale, we're literally like
just first dot.
First dot. We have this much opportunity for the next.
This could be the best year ever.
It could be the best year of your life, right?
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna take this away because I have a folder called what I today I learned, right?
Oh,
or what I learned today, one of the two, right?
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say I journal every single day, but what I've noticed, so I was in India for 2-3 months, just towards the tail end of last year.
Yeah.
And the place that I'm from in India is very, it's not like a big city, but it's a small enough city where I can wake up in the morning and have a very healthy sort of routine of having my chai, writing in my journal, and just
a
writing
moment.
and having like nice like 3 hours to begin the day to myself, right?
Yeah.
And what I realized in the process of that is my perfect routine is going to bed, reading a book until my brain hurts, dreaming like a madman, being super inspired, and then waking up and writing, not writing everything down from the dream, but writing how I feel about life.
Yeah.
You know,
very important.
And then living the day. So that was very healthy for me, and I'll probably go and do that again now following this conversation. But I might also adopt what you're doing. Can you please remind the audience again what website this is?
Okay, so now that website's gone, so I use a thing called dabble.me, DABBLE.me.
Yeah.
So this person was also an O-Life user, and O-Life shut down. He's like, I'm going to make the same system so we can keep doing what we do.
Okay.
Dabble.me every day will send you an email and say, how was your day? You reply the email for today's entry. And over time, after a week or a month, it'll say, by the way, 1 month ago on this day, you did this. So you read what you were doing and assess it. And trust me, the joy of reading where you were, let's say 5 years ago, is mind blowing. And I look forward to every the entry. Which entry am I going to see today?
Yeah.
And honestly, that thing has kept me on point.
Amazing.
Where I cannot let myself down because tonight I have to do this assessment.
Crazy, dude.
Yeah.
Wait, but what happened to all the entries that you wrote on the other one?
Oh, he managed to export it and move into this. That's why the 14 years is all into this system.
Thank God.
Yeah. Oh, I would have.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would break my heart.
It would break my heart too.
Yeah.
14 years of your life.
Yeah.
Okay, so you have enough trust in this product where you'd continue using it.
I've used it, and I'll put it this way: is that it's now served its purpose so much that even if I do lose everything, it's done what I needed to do, which is like give me the habit of every day I'm going to have a moment to just type and reflect.
Yes.
I think I read a book, I think George Mumford, he was like, I believe the trainer for Michael Jordan and stuff like that. And he talked about the 4 A's.
Tim Grover.
Tim Grover, yeah. But he had a book, I forget what it was called, but like he had... What?
Relentless?
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that one, and I think that was the 4 A's, right? The awareness, acceptance, action, and assessment. And that was exactly what the journal is. I was aware that my day was, tough, this and that. I've accepted today wasn't my best day. I'm going to do something about it. I'm going to change tomorrow. And then when I read my entry, I'm assessing, have I become better than I was?
Yeah.
And that in itself is so good.
So just before you, we had Riddhi Jain on the podcast. She's doing her PhD in computational psychology at Oxford.
No idea what that means.
Let me break it down into English for you, right?
Yeah.
What that means. Basically, she studies how depressed people learn, right? And identifying what the parameters of learning are for depressed people so that they learn better in life. And learning isn't just like reading from a book and stuff. It's like the trend that we see here, right, is apparently, as what she was saying, is like depressed people don't have an attitude for life where they try many things and learn from whatever it is that life is teaching them. Whereas on the flip side, positive people, on the other hand, are conducting many experiments with life.
Yeah.
And every time something works, it's a good thing.
Yeah.
Every time it doesn't work, also a good thing.
Yeah, growth mindset.
Exactly, growth mindset. They get to learn something from it, and they get to build on top of that, right? So, that's literally what you're saying. So, and I asked her this question. I was like, are you conducting life as an experiment? Because you're a scientist, like she's a scientist. I was like, are you writing everything down, documenting everything? And she was like, no. It's just so funny that now I'm speaking to a comedian. Yeah. And he's like, yes, I'm documenting every single day.
Dude, I used to be obsessed, man. I would document how much food I would eat and everything.
Okay.
You want to hear a funny story? And my parents will back me up on this one.
Yeah.
And my only full-time job I've ever done, 6 months time.
Yeah.
My water glass was a measuring cup. Okay, it was a 500 milliliter measuring cup, the one that you normally use for baking and everything.
Yeah, that one.
Okay, one of those, all right?
Yeah.
And I would go to the water fountain and like fill it, and it would take like a good minute to fill 500 ml, the small little spout. And I'd go to my table, and that was my thing. The reason I would do that is because I did not want to waste time getting up, filling, coming back to sip, getting up, filling, coming back to sip. I knew 500 ml will be sufficient for me for the next 2 hours.
Okay.
Right? We got to drink maybe 2 liters per day.
Yeah.
That's a quarter for my day.
Yeah.
Right? So maybe the next 3 hours I'm covered.
Yeah.
So I'm on my computer doing my own thing, everything. At the same time, I started adopting that for my food. Okay, I would eat 3/4 cup of rice, and then the bhaji, or like basically the food and everything was on top until this level, yogurt on top, and that was my meal.
Right.
First of all, I'm working, I'm eating, all that stuff.
Yeah.
And secondly, I know this meal will keep me full for the next 4 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to need a snack in my bag for whatever meetings I'm going for the next 4 hours.
Right.
I will know to schedule my meetings. 12 o'clock eating lunch, 4 p.m. I need a break to eat food. So that's why I schedule my whole calendar in.
That's
where
right.
at 4 p.m. I will not have a meeting because I need 30 minutes to get a bowl of noodles.
Okay.
Otherwise, I'll be like, I'm so tired, and I'll burn out.
Okay.
So yeah, I was a bit obsessive with the logging.
Was it calorie counting?
Half and half.
Okay.
Kind of,
Were you
but
working out
not really. It was really weird. I was looking at more the protein side because the bathroom, I'm like, oh, you want 1 gram of protein per.
Yeah.
But it was more like I wanted to know how much could I optimize my food.
Yeah.
So I'm not wasting time. Like, I'm hungry, man. I need some food right now.
Yeah.
Like I would schedule, like for example, my phone's I have my schedules every day is like wake up 6:30 p.m. and I'm calculating at 6:30 a.m. Right?
Yeah.
Waking up and I know, like for example, here in Fulton, right?
Yeah.
I would know exactly how many minutes it takes from Mashati and where I was to come here.
Yeah.
It's 14 minutes by MTR.
Yeah.
So I know the school to this MTR station is 5 minutes. Here to the MTR from here is another, let's say, 7 minutes, right? And I'll time it all in. Buffer in 10 minutes because, things happen.
Exactly.
Now I'm covered.
Yeah.
So I know I have to leave here by this time and I'm good.
Sure.
That's how I time everything. So I know. So I'm not going like, oh, okay, I'm a bit early. I don't know.
So you're very systematic. You live life
Very
systematically.
A little bit too much. My girlfriend doesn't like it at all. She's
Okay.
like, buddy, just calm down. I can't live like this. I'm like, oh, you should be here at 3:30.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I love it.
But I think that also contributes to the attitude thing that we were talking about earlier, right? Because if you have a more laid back, like hands-off attitude, then that's probably how you're approaching a lot of other things in life.
Exactly.
as
Yeah,
well,
and you can
right?
tell.
And you can tell.
There's no right or wrong way. It's just what works for you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It is what works for you. And I imagine this has worked. Have you known any other way of life apart from being the way that you
Honestly, no, because in the beginning, when I started working for myself, I read this book by David Allen called Getting Things Done, GTD. It's basically a productivity system. Now, back then, it was the thing. You had an inbox and you must do it this way and everything. And I applied the whole thing into my whole system.
Wow.
How do I keep track of my to-do list and everything?
Wow.
Now, of course, the issue is when you're so organized, nothing slips by you, which means you only have 24 hours, but now you have 25 hours worth of work, and you're never gonna get it done. That's another level of stress, right? But then I was like, okay, I trust my to-do list. I will never forget.
Yeah.
It will never slip by me. And then I have that way of working. And that way allows me to do 20 different gigs at the same time because I'm never gonna forget. It's all on the list. So I have a very bad memory.
Yeah.
I don't plan on improving it because I don't need to because my list tells me what to do.
Right.
So my to-do list and my schedule, my calendar app is my secretary, my assistant. If they don't have it, it's not happening.
Yeah.
And I always tell people when I talk to someone, I would chat, hey, this weird, and they tell me, hey, you should check this out. A very easy way to know if I really am going to do it is that after you tell me that, if you don't see me write it down, that means I'm not going to do it.
I see.
Yeah, and people who know me, they're like, hey, he's not gonna.
Yeah.
But how do you know? He didn't write it down.
Right.
He's not gonna remember. It's not gonna happen. And that's the easy way.
Do you think your way of being, the systematic way of being, also lets you accurately predict how much you can take on in terms of work?
Half and half.
Okay.
I almost always overtake stuff because I believe I could do it, man.
Yeah, definitely.
And everything is always more than you expect.
Yeah.
Like you might say, I'll do a gig, no big deal. But you go there, there's always last minute things. I've got a sunny day. Like, could you come 5 minutes earlier? Oh, we have this issue. Can you solve that? However, I've learned one thing is that as long as you have your systems in place, even if you do something that is overwhelming, you're not worried about how will I handle it. It's just on the list. And I use this. The way you think, you have two ways of thinking. One is the manager and one is the doer. The manager is like, what do I do? How do I do it? What do I do? The doer is like, look at the list and follow the monkey. And I know that I'm going to, this is how I do, how I ruin myself. At night or something, I'm going to plan the next day.
Right.
I'm do because I'm not doing it now. So sure, let's make me work like crazy.
Yeah.
The next day, I'm going to do the work. But by the next day, I'm like, just follow the list. If it's not there, don't do it. And that way, I'm just like, tick, 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 brainless, just getting it done. Taskmaster,
Yeah.
And that shift is easy because if I'm planning and doing, I'm not going to plan. I'm like, I don't want to do this. This is crazy. This is insane. But I'm like, I'm not doing it now. It's like when you're at night, staying up, folding your phone, you're like, I got to wake up early tomorrow. But buddy, no, my problem now. Jerry Seinfeld had this really good bit about night guy always screws morning guy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Every morning, like, oh man, I'm tired now. Night guy's like, well, not my problem.
Yeah.
And like,
I had a good time.
Yeah, I had a good time, And I was like, that's so brilliant. Same thing. I plan my stuff, have it on my list. How will I do it? Not my problem, man.
Yeah.
That's tomorrow. That's the other guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that helps me a lot. And that's why I'm not I'm overwhelmed
Yeah.
with work,
Yeah.
but I'm not worried about it. It's just a matter of doing.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. And do you have that thing like, I've got to do the work. Like, I have to do the work. Like,
I'm a control freak. Yeah, I'm a very
You're a
control
freak? You're
Yes.
not slacking on yourself. Like, if
No.
you have the thing that you have to do, you're going to do it.
Oh, I'm going all in. Like
Right.
I'll put it this way. Whether you're paying me a super discounted, 10% fee or
Yeah.
the 100%, you're getting the full thing.
Right.
Because that's my brand. And I think the one thing I've learned is that at the end of the day, I am the product. So if I slack off, I'm hurting myself.
Yeah.
So there's no slacking off.
And I think that takes a level of self-love as
Yes.
well. You know,
Yeah.
self-care.
Self-acceptance and love. Yeah, you're right.
Because there are people who don't care about themselves enough
Yeah.
to put in that effort. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
It kind of falls to the wayside and they kind of
Yeah.
give up, right?
Yeah.
What keeps you on your toes and what keeps you maintaining that brand for yourself?
I never want to regret and look at myself like, what are you doing?
Okay.
And I think shame.
Yeah.
I never want to be ashamed of my actions. I will make mistakes. I will be ready to own up to them. I'll use an example. Me and my girlfriend, we argue all the time. We've been
Yeah.
together for long enough where arguments are like, it's going to happen, okay?
Yeah.
And her way of thinking, my way of thinking is different. I'm like really like systematic. Listen, this, how are you going to put this together? Hers is a bit more idealistic. Oh, you know what? I want to do this. I'm like, and how are you going to do it? You gotta da, 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 da.
Yeah.
And anyone who's worked with me will tell you, working with him is not easy. He's a fun guy and everything, but when it comes down to work, I'm like, rock and roll. However, I feel that I know that about me. However, I will give you so much, much like the trainer who needs that client.
Yeah.
The client who's going to go all in.
Yeah.
Trainer's like, buddy, I'm here for you, man. We're going all in with this one. But some trainers are not designed for that.
No.
Some clients are not designed for that. They're like, I just want to do a few reps, have a little
Yeah.
chat.
Yeah.
No problem. But
Yeah.
this is what I mean. I've come to a point in my life where I realized that I never want to be the guy who will look back and be like, man, I wish I did that.
Right.
I wish I tried doing that.
Yeah.
I would rather do it and be like, man, I didn't like that at all.
Yeah.
But I will know. However, I've done wedding emceeing, and
Yeah.
I was like, I'm really not enjoying this.
Yeah.
I've never sang Chinese songs because that I'm like, buddy, I did karaoke and I hated it.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't enjoy this. I've done gigs for, let's say, really high level CEOs, board of directors, and everything, and I'm like, this is pointless. What am I doing? These
Yeah.
guys are not here to watch me. I'm just a monkey dancing on stage for them.
Yeah.
And I'm like, this is no good.
Right.
So all that stuff, I'm like, I've done it. I know it. I'm not doing it. So I think that's the thing. I never want to be ashamed of my actions. So I'm trying to be as authentic as I possibly can. There's a lot behind it, but that's one of the core things. Again, journal. I'm not going to say like, today I did a gig and these guys never laughed. Not my fault.
Yeah.
They didn't have a sense of humor. No.
Right.
You took the gig, buddy.
Yeah.
No, so it's no blaming.
Yeah.
Yeah. That keeps me on
Bro,
my toes.
like in season 1 of the show, the last question that we asked all of our guests was, what is something you would say to an older version of yourself, and what is something you would say to a younger version of yourself, right?
Yeah.
Because it does make a lot of sense that if that you can mentor yourself by seeing how your younger self wasn't able to perform. Because it's quite likely that if you continue down that path,
Yeah.
your future self is going to end up saying the same thing to you. Like, hey, dude, you already knew how life wasn't working out for you back then.
Yeah.
You had the opportunity to do something about it.
Yeah.
You didn't do it, so guess what the advice is now?
You
Do
gotta
the
do it.
same thing.
Yeah, there's no escape. You got to do it.
There's literally no escape.
no escape, yeah.
It ends up being the same sort of advice throughout life, right?
Yeah,
for
yeah, yeah.
yourself. Very interesting. What would you say your top 3 skills are?
My top 3 skills, I would say I'm extremely systematic. Like
Yeah.
I can be very self-disciplined.
Okay.
Like to the point it's a bit harmful sometimes where I'm like, I'm doing this. I don't care.
It's harmful?
It can be harmful because then you're too hard on yourself.
Uh-huh.
Like my girlfriend always tells me, buddy, you have to learn to relax.
Yeah.
Like one of the,
I love how your girlfriend calls you buddy.
yeah. She's like, hey, buddy, man, you got it. I'm like, hey, girl,
Yeah.
No, but other comedians, like Jason Leung from Malaysia, we had this running joke where I'm the type of the military style mentality
Yeah.
where we're in the Melbourne Comedy Festival. This is a true story. We go to the gym together, working out, right?
Yeah.
And we have like 20 minutes to kind of stretch, cool down.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, you've been doing a little bit of yoga. Could you just guide us and everything? And
Yeah.
these guys were like joking around. Hey, we're going to do. I'm like, guys, can we just get serious? We got to relax. Everybody sit down and relax,
Yeah.
They're like, how are you telling me so seriously to relax? I'm like, you're right. What am I doing?
Yeah.
And he's been joking about this for the rest of my life. It's like, this is the guy who will tell you, sit down and relax, right? I go to a beach with them,
Yeah.
road trip.
Yeah.
I go to the beach and they're like, oh, this is beautiful. And my reaction is, I get it. It's the sky. I get it. What can I do with this?
Yeah.
And they always joke about how I'm trying to do something with stuff. So my skill, yes, it is. I'm very systematic. I'm very proactive. I want to do something with it. But it's like, you got to stop and smell the roses. I was once told that you have to remember, is life all about planting roses or is it about smelling roses? You might say, but one rose only has so much fragrance. I want more roses to get more fragrance. But at some point, diminishing marginal returns. You're so busy managing roses, you have no time to smell them. And you have to draw the line and say, okay, you know what? 5 is enough.
5 is
not
enough.
50. 50 sure smells great, but you have no time to smell them.
Yeah, or you get a few more gardeners to help you out.
Exactly,
so you have
yeah.
time
But then
to
you
smell
manage
roses.
them as well, you know. There's a lot.
Fair.
You get it? So it's all,
Yeah.
you have to find that fine line.
I see.
So that, systematic thing would be one of my, I feel that I'm confident about.
Okay, that's
Yeah,
really
yeah.
cool. Would you say that in the course of doing all this, you have also developed really good leadership ability?
I would say, in a way, yes. I've spent a lot of time reading a lot of books, trying to learn, especially the classics. You have to, right?
Yeah.
And I've tried to learn my best, but leadership is such a abstract thing that you might be a good leader in this aspect, but a terrible leader in that aspect. And I've learned over time working with different companies, their bosses could be leading the company so well, but their family life is terrible. You know, and it's a give or take. Like Kobe Bryant in one of his interviews, and people ask him, what happens to your relationships? He's like, they suffer. If I'm spending all this time training, what do you think's happening to my family? But you have to make that decision. You know what? This is my priority. You want to be with me? That's the deal. And that's, again, I always say this is one of those things that with my family, my girlfriend, everything, I always tell me, I know who I am. I know what I want. Yes, you will lose a lot. Another boyfriend might be like, I'll go get a job. After every night, we can have dinner together. Every night, I'm at a gig. We're not having dinner on New Year's Eve. I'm at a gig. We're not having dinner on Valentine's Day. I'm having a gig. But on top of that, you get to travel with me when I go do shows around the world. You get to enjoy the behind the scenes, all that stuff. So which do you want? And I think that's what you have to learn, right? That to me is the leadership thing, where you have to learn that every situation has its own way to lead, and you might be good at this doesn't mean you're good at that, and that's hardest for me.
Wow.
Yeah.
No, I mean, the fact that you've been able to articulate that so well just shows me that it's true. Like, you've actually gone through this whole process and just been okay with the fact that, okay, you know what, you've got to like take losses in some areas. Right? And you've
24
got to take
hours.
them with
That's what you got.
grace as well. You have to take them with grace, dude, because especially if you're the type A kind of personality that you're describing, it's very easy to look at a loss and be like, I could have done better. Right? But sometimes, like, again, going back to being human, I'm not saying, like, okay, let's take Elon Musk, for example. I was listening to this amazing podcast. I don't know if he's got like a new biography coming out or something, but it's the guy who wrote his biography. He just follows Elon Musk around. He also wrote Steve Jobs'
yeah.
So he just follows Elon Musk around quietly and observes the way that he interacts with his employees, interacts with shareholders, other stakeholders, his family, and he sees what Elon Musk is like in all of these different areas. And on the surface, yes, he's one of the richest men on the world, on the planet, and he's got everything seemingly. He's advancing the human race, but he doesn't seem like he's okay. He's a bipolar guy. He goes on rants on Twitter, and not because he's just trying to be funny, because he's actually not doing okay. He's got very high levels of stress, and he's trying to control as many things as he can all the time. Right? And therefore, even though he has a lot, the quality of his life may not be as high as everyone thinks it is, just because he has money and access to all of these private jets and whatnot. Right?
I'm a firm believer of that. I mean, I love reading biographies because I want to see the person behind the scenes and really hear the stories and be like, you see, I mean, you might have all that, but you're still struggling. The Mark Manson in his book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving Up, right? That book was a good example. You know the band Megadeth, right?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, so Dave Mustaine used to be in Metallica. He got kicked out. He was so angry. He's, I'm going to be the best guitarist. You're going to regret it. Became one of the best guitarists. Sold records like crazy, but never happy because he was still comparing to Metallica. And it's that metric.
Yeah, I remember the story.
Right? That's right. It's a classic story, and that's the truth. Like, if I every day say, oh, but Kevin Hart sells stadiums, like, come on, man. Like, we're not at that level. You're not even at that playing field. On the other hand, I do on my to-do list every 7 days a reminder, hey, just to let you know, Kevin Hart's only 3 years older than you. So he's doing this. Where are you going to be doing in the next 3 years to get to there? Right? And
that's what you want as well.
Exactly. Or I want to be maximizing my level.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart is a good example because I read his biography and there's so much that I can relate to.
For sure.
Trevor Noah, same thing, the identity crisis. I was like, I get this. I exactly get this. And those things fueled me where I was like, but If I keep saying, yeah, but he's doing that, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Right? But that's a goal to strive for. In the same way, you say like Elon Musk, everyone has their problems. What I learned is everyone has their issues at every level. For example, today I'm a comedian.
Yeah.
I get to go to school, get to this and do gigs.
Yeah.
But the joy I get from a gig is no longer the same joy I got 20 years ago or 10 years ago when I was like, oh my God, I just did an hour of comedy.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, an hour is a warm-up. Like, this is basic. Like, I go to school, do an hour, my brain is like, sure, whatever.
Yeah.
Right? Back then, I'm like, I'm going to do an hour? Whoa.
Yeah.
So the same thing is no longer giving me the same satisfaction, and I'm okay with it. Because my game is different. I'm dealing with other things. I make more money now, but I've got other responsibilities. So it doesn't seem any different.
Yeah.
I think that's the key. And you're right. When you follow them enough, you're like, they're still human, man.
Yeah.
They still have their problems. And every level has its own set of problems.
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, every level has its own set of problems, right? But if we talk about seeing your potential or maximizing your potential at any age, right? I think you have a potential at any given age. Let me think about whether I mean that. Give me a sec.
No, I agree with you on that point.
Yeah.
Because every point in your life, you have a potential, whether you're maximizing is your choice.
Yeah.
So when you're 6 years old, your potential is maybe right now playing the piano for the first time.
Right.
If I play London Bridges, for my level, this is fantastic.
Yes.
And you'll impress everyone playing London Bridges.
Yes.
If you're 20 years old playing London Bridges, they're like, yeah, come on, man.
Yeah.
You might have just learned the same 2 months of piano.
Yeah.
But 20 years ago, you're like, but you had your whole life.
Exactly.
People are not impressed, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
But again, that doesn't mean that you should be at this level. You only started just now.
Yeah.
Reverse it every day. There's a phrase called Goisin, Kaizen, basically means every day a small improvement. It's the 1% improvement concept,
Kaizen, right?
Yeah, Kaizen, yeah, you know. So again, basic stuff like that where every day 1 small percent of improvement, it will in fact compound. And if every day you're just a bit better than yesterday, and that's my philosophy. People tell me, what do you want to be in 5 years?
Yeah.
I changed it. I was like, I just want every day to write in my journal that I did this and I've grown in this way.
Yeah.
And when I read that old review of like, oh my God, I did an hour. And now I'm like, I do 2, no big deal.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, you know what? There we go. I've got some growth over there. And that way, my potential, I believe, is at least being increased, maybe not maximized. But at the end of the day, potential is an abstract concept.
It is, yeah.
It's hard for me to say, yep, you maximize yours. It's like there's no meter.
Yeah.
All you can do is that self-reflection of, do I feel I gave my best?
Yeah.
And that's the trick. Many people tell me, I did. My affirmation says, I do my best.
Yeah.
But you'll feel it. And I think like someone like you and myself, we're doing what we want to do. You have doubts. I'm sure you have doubts. I have doubts all the time as well. But you take a moment and say, I'm scared, but I did my best. And if I still can't succeed, then there's no regrets.
Yeah. I have had that thought. I mean, given that it's 2024 again in January, right? It's a time of serious reflection. You know, end of last year, beginning of this year.
Yeah.
It's a time of serious reflection, and for me, I have been thinking to myself like, wow, okay, I'm doing this thing. If I give up, and I simulated all of it in my mind, if I like fire myself, right, and I'm like, no, this is just way too hard. Is this even getting the kind of traction of like an international level podcaster, for example, or anything of that sort? The answer is no, obviously, right now.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, wait a second, it's gonna be no forever if I give up now. And either way, time is going to pass. Right? And if I just get back on this after doing the next thing and realizing, wait, I was on the right path the whole time, then it's just a waste of time to give up.
But you'll never know.
But like, you'll never know what
you miss all the shots you don't take, right?
Yeah, precisely.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so that's why it's I really appreciate and agree with what you're saying is set yourself up with your personal manager, being you.
Yeah.
And taskmaster the shit out of your entire day.
Yeah.
Because if you take more shots, you're going to miss more shots, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, but statistically, you have to hit.
Yeah.
Jerry Seinfeld once said, it's real simple. You want to write jokes, write 100 jokes. Percentage-wise, statistically, at least one should hit.
Yeah.
But if you write only 10, you get like maybe 0.1 will hit.
Yeah.
So that's the idea.
Have you ever encountered a situation where you've had 2 really good opportunities come your way, but you've had to choose just one?
Oh yeah, women all the time. I'm like, who are you? Yes, you get a lot of those, and I'll put it this way: nowadays, I do get a lot of those. I get opportunities where, let's say, 2 gigs asking for the same date, or I've already taken gig number 1, which is maybe lower paying, and then gig number 2 shows. I'm like, oh, you know what? I haven't really signed the contract for gig number 1. I could kind of be like, oh, I'm sorry, I mixed up.
Yeah.
However, I put it this way: is that look, you'll never get that everything is going to be the perfect gig. I maximized everything, and I've learned over time you're going to forget those missed opportunities. For example, it's like selling stocks and shares, right? You're going to sell them like, oh, it went up. Oh. But what I have learned is, remember that journal entry?
Yeah.
I will see maybe 1 year ago, sold this thing at this price. And today I check it, I'm like, oh, it went up, man. Oh, I should have said. But you know what? I completely forgot about selling that. So I completely forgot about losing a bit of money there because I was so busy anyway. So when you miss that shot, it's going to hurt now.
Yeah.
But after a week of being busy, you can be, oh, wait, I missed the shot. That was a week ago only.
Yeah.
And again, another book I read one time, this comedian was talking about how, look, you have a bad gig tonight, let's say, right? You missed an opportunity, you screwed something up.
Yeah.
You are allowed to sulk about it until 11 a.m. tomorrow. Because you have to go through the motions. For example, you're going to have to be like, oh man, every gig is bad, man. I'm a terrible comedian. Go through it. You have to get through that. But you allow yourself a line. Until 11 a.m., you could whine about the world. It's not my fault. These guys are idiots. Everything like. But once 11 a.m. comes, like, all right, let's get to work now. Yeah. Okay, you're done. You're done. Okay, we're done with the whining. Let's get back to reality.
Yeah.
And you get that out of your system. So I feel that if you have doubts, remember every successful person went through the same thing. The only difference is that they found a meaning behind it. Again, so many stories will talk about how when there's a meaning behind what you're doing, your doubt is no longer like, but I'm going to screw up. Yeah, but that's the journey. I'm not worried about falling down. I'm more excited about like when I can read that entry in my journal about how I fell down and buddy, I'm still here. I'll give you an example. I was doing an MMA ring announcing thing. It was a live streamed event. The last fighter is Adrian Pang. I don't know where the video is, but it's there. He's the last fighter. I go up there as the ring announcer. I have to just go, Adrian Pang. I have in my ear the director saying, okay, Viv, announce Adrian, right? Yeah. I go up there, I'm like, please welcome Adrian Pang. My voice cracks. Oh, everyone's watching. Yeah. I'm cracking. And I'm like, oh my God, this is the worst thing ever. Oh my God, this is the end of my career. Yeah. Journal entry. Oh my God, I can't believe it. I was so tired that day. It's not fair because I didn't get enough rest. I was really exhausted. There was too much stress, everything. I screwed up completely. Yeah. That was maybe over 10 years ago. And guess what? I'm still here. A lot of events, they still get me. No one's even like, buddy, don't crack your voice like you did that time. No one remembers. Yeah. No one cares. Cosmic insignificance right over there. It's like you're not as special as you think you are. So on one hand, it's really depressive. Like, I'm not that special? Yeah, you're not. Yeah. So your bad problems, nobody really cares. Oh, you know what? I'm good now. So I think all that makes me realize that, yeah, when you doubt yourself, okay, and what's your big problem? And it's all relative. Like, I have this whole joke about all these bad gigs I've done. Yeah. And I always say, I've been booed. All this stuff has happened and I'm still here. So what are you going to do? Boo me today? It's a bit less. I need more creativity. Yeah. Even with discrimination, I tell people it's like, if you want to discriminate me and hurt me, you have to be really creative. I've heard them all. So unless you're saying something so new, I was like, this was 2 years ago, man. Yeah. Let's get on with the time. So you see, it's all the mindset subjective thing. And I'll tell you as well, if you are having moments of like, I don't know, is this going to hit and everything, how can you maximize what you're doing? Is it only podcast and video? Can you do more? Can you maybe have a live audience? Can you talk with, let's say, bars and restaurants? Can you do some event like you turn into an interactive segment? No, that kind of thing. What more can you do? And I think that will maybe keep it going where like, ooh, this is fun. Gamification as well is a big thing I encourage people to do.
Hell yeah, dude. Yeah. Dude, Vivek. Wait, everyone calls you Viv?
Viv, V, whatever.
V? Okay, that's cool, man. No, I really, really appreciate the energy, the confidence, and just the positivity that you've brought to the set today.
Oh, thank you, man.
I really believe in energy, and every guest that has come onto set has brought a little bit of themselves
for sure. It'll stay in this room.
Yeah, no, I mean, the room is meant to be conducive to the best version of yourself.
Correct,
when you do sit across from me on the mic. But really, man, like, I've just been here today listening and absorbing a lot of this energy. And I'm so happy you're the kind of person that does what you do. Because you're exactly the kind of person that I would hope walks through the doors when I know something like this is going to happen.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, I'll put it this way: it's like I feel like I found that thing I want to be doing,
Yeah.
and now it just multiplies. You get it? You've got that ingredient. You're like, that's the missing ingredient. That's the salt to my food. And my food flavor, bam!
Yeah.
Just went all through the roof.
Man, that's brilliant. You are helping the Nomadic Mike season 2 get off to a very, very positive start. So
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you very much for joining us on the set today. And dude, I wish you the best this year.
Thank you. I wish you the best as well. I look forward to being, I was on that famous podcast. Yeah. They had me do a little chit chat over there.
Soon.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
Soon, my man. All right.
Pleasure.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Enjoy.